Hi, welcome back to Hearty Conversations with us. Your host, my name is Awu Marita,
I am Miranda Gabrielle Paul.
and we are so glad to have you here. We're going to have so much fun learning and basically doing life together on this YouTube channel. And our topic today is
Depression. Why are you waiting for that one? Why you guys like? When? Anyway, I don't know. But yes, we're talking about depression, and depression is. I mean, it's definitely become a lot more. Like people pay more attention to that word these days. It's definitely become more of a trending topic.
That's true.
And it's one of the most common mental illnesses that there is. So there is a need for us to just,
Have a conversation.
have a
around
conversation around it.
it. Yeah.
So let me start us off. What does depression mean to you?
To me, depression first is a mood disorder where someone is sad, they are unable to do the things that they're interested in. They're just basically unable to do life. They have a low, an unexplainable low, and they've been that way for 3 weeks or more.
Yes. Really similar to yours. It's a mood disorder, and it's characterized by perpetual sadness, where you are sad, but the sadness is plus plus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a common misconception where people say, "Oh, it's just sadness." No, it's a little bit bigger than that.
So it's a bit bigger than sadness, just sadness.
Yeah. So, how does depression affect you?
So first of all, I want to make it clear, our symptoms are not a one size fits all. Her symptoms will be different from my symptoms, but that doesn't make the fact that I'm struggling with depression less valid. So I'll go straight to some of the symptoms I face when I'm depressed. One, I lack appetite, I don't eat. Two, I get fever, like malaria fever, and I get painful muscles. My muscles hurt so much, like it's so hard for me to move. Three, I'm very irritable. Four, I sleep a lot. Five, I am very, very, very forgetful. Six, sometimes I don't sleep at all. So they're very confusing. What other symptom do I have? Seven, I'm unable to do the normal things people do, like showering is hard, washing cups is so hard, yet the normal Rita likes doing those things. Like I'm those people who wake up in the morning and they just want my sink to be very clean. I even come visit you and I clean your sink. So when I'm depressed, I'm just unable to do the normal things I would have loved to do. And I get so sad, of sometimes I want to die. Yeah.
Okay. So what does depression look like for me? I really like that you said our symptoms are different, because it's one of the things that I have struggled most with, because when I'm depressed, I don't have very many physical symptoms. So for example, Rita was saying she has the fever, the lack of sleep. For me, it's really just I'm sad. And it's the worst sadness I've ever felt. But it's like a sadness that holds you, and you just and really what it's characterized by is just feelings of wanting to die or wanting to hurt myself. So I'll be able to. There's a time I was with my mom and she was doing my hair, and I was going through a really bad depressive episode, and I was talking to her, and I was looking at myself in the mirror, And I was seeing myself function, like seeing myself, I would answer her, we would even laugh a little bit here and there, but I would see myself function, but yet in my spirit, I knew that I was literally dying.
Yeah.
So the fact that, you know, those quotes that people say of the different ways in which depression can look, that's very, very valid. So yes, I get very, very sad. I have suicidal ideations. Sometimes I will want to sleep a lot, but it's not, it's like for example, if I have to go to class, if I have to go to work, I'll go to work. But outside of that, I won't be able to function. So it will just sort of be like my body is on, is it power saving mode? Is that the one?
Power saving mode.
So I have just enough energy to do the basic functions that I have to do. Then I also have a bit of loss of appetite. I don't eat. There's also a lot of crying. Yeah, I think that's how.
I really wish I could cry, like when I'm really, really depressed, because I just feel like the sadness is trapped inside, and I really want to cry, but I can't. And this is somehow funny because last year I looked at my partner and I told him, you know what would help? I want to cry. I miss crying. I just need to cry. And then 2 weeks after, I got into a very minor body accident and I had to rush me to hospital. So I fear needles for the life of me because my veins are so small.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pricking.
There's a lot of pricking. Once I saw injection come, I started waiting. And then he was like, well, at least you're finally crying.
You got what you wanted.
Like, not right now. I don't want these jokes right now.
Now is not the time.
Now is not that time. I know I've cried, but it's not that time. Yeah.
No, I get you with that. Sometimes one of the things I tell myself is I know that I'm really depressed when I start crying. Because sometimes it can be you like just have this and you want to get it out, but you don't know how to get it out. It's like it's just weighing on you and you just
Carrying it around.
yes. Yeah. So we wanted to talk about some of the common misconceptions that people have around depression. Like we said, it's a trending topic these days. And you know, when things are trending, people will come up with their own opinions and whatnot and whatnot. So the first one is that depression is not a real condition. So some people downplay it and say that, oh, it's just sadness, she's just sad, yada yada. I shouldn't have said that. But like we said, it's not just sadness. It's a sadness that first of all is extreme and then it persists for a long time.
Yeah.
So and then you also like things that would usually make you happy don't do that, you know. So there are very many criteria that they use to decide that it's actually a disease, and yeah, it's real. It's not that we are the lazy ones who don't want to smile and be happy. No, some up. Yes.
I think another misconception is, oh, it's just that person's character. I remember when I was, before diagnosis, when I was going in, I remember my ex then telling my brother, oh, she's just dramatic. That's why she's this sad. And I was like, in my head, at the back of my head, I knew like, there's something wrong with me. There's always been something wrong with me for the longest time. So when I got into the diagnosis room, and my therapist was like, oh, you just don't have depression, you have severe depression, because they first diagnosed you with severe then major depressive disorder if it's consistent. Yeah, so she told me you have severe depression, you have severe anxiety, you have PTSD. Like, I had a list, and I remember breaking down and crying because for the first time, what I felt or what I was fighting with had a name, and there was a way I could get better. Yeah, so stop telling people who fight with depression that it's just their character trait, because they get discouraged to get help, yet it's a real serious condition that they're fighting with.
Yes. I think also another misconception is that it's a sign of weakness. So when I was first diagnosed, I remember I had a conversation with someone of importance in my life who had trouble coming to terms with the diagnosis. I think for them they were like, okay, what he said to me, oh, I've given his gender, now you know, damn it. Anyway, what this individual said to me was that, oh, you're just sensitive. And then he said something along the lines of, you're emotionally weak.
Yeah.
And as people who struggle with depression, you get that a lot, that, oh, you just don't have the strength to, like, you know, those sayings, tough times don't last, but tough people do, you know, those sayings. So you're sort of now in the category of the untough people who the tough times have taken. And I'm not saying that people who have lost their lives to depression were in some way weak, because going up to that level took a certain level of strength.
Yeah.
So I want us to start looking at it from the point of, for example, you know how someone has cancer and we're like, oh gosh, you're so strong, oh gosh, you're fighting, you're in the fight. So let's start to look at it as this is now a person who is also fighting for their life. And they are using as much strength as they have to get them to the next moment. It's not that they are somehow defective and they are not able to cope to the normal circumstances of life. Yes.
And that's true. And the brain is the strongest part of your body. And the iron of it all, every part of the body is allowed to fall sick apart from it. Yes. Every part of the body you receive grace, you receive strength, people are there to comfort you. But when it's your brain, it's like, how dare you say your brain is sick? And I keep telling people to live with depression. I live with bipolar. Is constantly waking up to fight with the brain that is trying to convince you to kill yourself or to end yourself, and then you show up and say no for every minute. You say, no, I will shop, no, I will eat, no, I will exercise, no. Like, you're constantly battling and countering it with all these things on top of trying to be a functional member of society. So who are depressed and not weak? I believe that the strongest people who are showing up for a battle that no one knows apart from them.
Yeah, that's very well said. Anyway, do we still have misconceptions?
Do you?
Yes. Another misconception is that medication is the only form of treatment. Medication, yes, very valuable. Please take your medicine, but there also, you need to combine it. Usually people who are depressed, it's combined with therapy, and we're going to talk a bit about the different types of therapy that they are available. But what I'm trying to say is this is something I used to do. I would just see my psychiatrist every month, take the medicine, and it wasn't working. So then I stopped taking the medicine. But it wasn't working because the medicine was bad, or maybe they gave me a low dose, but it wasn't working because medication goes hand in hand with therapy, because therapy is going to sort of help you analyze the thinking patterns that you have and teach you how to unlearn them, teach you how to modify them, how to basically build like new pathways that think in positive and light ways. That was very, but yeah, guys, therapy.
Yeah, so
I think we can go into the different types of therapy that are available for people who have depression.
So one of my favorite therapy types that helped me and still does is cognitive behavioral therapy. So you get this negative emotion, this negative thought, this negative thing that you're struggling with and replace it with something positive. Um, for example, when I'm depressed, I feel like I'm the weakest person to live. I am less deserving. So, in cognitive behavior therapy, I have learned to ask myself, Rita, who told you that you're less deserving? Who told you that you're weak? When I know, oh, it was Bosco, I'm like, how much do you rate Bosco in your life? Or maybe how much do you rate yourself? And why do you think that way? And then the whys and whys keep going until you find the answer. And then you realize this is just a feeling right now. It's not a fact of my life. So I think cognitive behavior therapy really helped me distinguish those two. And it helped me also distinguish the things I can change and the things I can't change. Because sometimes you're just worried about how long your legs are. Are you going to change it? No, they are yours, they're there to stay. You just look at them and bless them.
Amen.
And then go ahead with life. What's the other form of therapy?
Another form of therapy is mindfulness-based therapy. Allow me to read because anyway, I want to remember it offhand. So what this incorporates is mindfulness principles and practices to help you manage and alleviate your depressive symptoms. So it aims to cultivate present moment awareness, non-judgmental acceptance, and compassionate attitude towards oneself. So what this does is, for example, when I'm in a situation where I'm like, oh my God, I'm panicking because maybe I didn't do well on an exam. I'm worried about, oh my God, I didn't do well on an exam, I didn't do well on the exam. So now it sort of brings you in and say, okay, you're worried you didn't do well on the exam. What can you do in this moment? What can you do to so you can say, okay, well, like, first of all, I don't know the results of the exam, like the results are not due back, I might actually do well. Mm-hmm. Then I can say, okay, if I'm worried about this exam, I can prepare better for the next exam. Then it helps you sort of calm your mind down, because sometimes our minds can be running like, oh, we are worried about things, then we are thinking about what happened yesterday, but it brings you back to this moment and it helps you calm your mind down and you say, okay, what exactly do I need to focus on in this moment to move forward? Yes. For me, I think why I like that is because I can be scatterbrained at times, and there can be moments where I get overwhelmed and my mind is just going crazy. So it sort of focuses me and calms me down, and then I can move forward to see where to go next.
Yes. I think the last one for me that I'll talk about that really helped is exposure therapy. So before I went into therapy, I go into therapy, I noticed that de-associated for years. I get into therapy, the mask is put off, and then I have to deal with all these overflowing things. So I end up getting anxious, I'm afraid of crowds.
Can you just explain disassociation? I feel like some people might not know.
So disassociation is when you switch your brain off and sometimes act like something didn't happen. Yeah. So that's the coping mechanism that I learned how to use. So when I went to therapy, I had to deal with these things, and then my anxieties grew. I was scared of crowds, I was scared of men. I stopped wearing skirts and dresses. I think like for a whole year I just wore pants. My OCD went up the roof. If I was at a party, I would be outside arranging shoes to make them straight before coming in. So my psychiatrist decided that I should do exposure therapy. Of course, it wasn't easy. We'd be like, okay, once a month, go in a crowd, spend 15 minutes, the worst minutes of my life. And everyone was like, hey, let's party more. I'll be like, no, let's go home. It's not safe. Yeah, so I have pushed myself and I have worked towards a goal. I can say now I handle crowds better. I wear dresses clearly. I have been on dates with men. Before you'd say, did you go for a date? I'd say, I went, kumbe, I went alone. It was a solo date. Yeah, but I've been on dates, so exposure therapy has really helped.
Okay. So those are just a few of the therapy options that are available. Remember we talked about depression working hand in hand with medication. Sorry, therapy working hand in hand with medication.
Yeah.
Yes. So have you faced any stigma with the diagnosis of depression?
Yes, I face stigma. I think stigma is part of being diagnosed with a mental illness, but I have learned how to work around it. We talked about stigma in the previous episode. Yeah, so you guys go back and watch it. We fully delve deep into the issue of stigma.
Yeah. I mean, I've also faced stigma, but an important stigma that I want to shed a light on is stigma in the healthcare profession. So what I mean is when you walk into the hospital, before you go to the psychiatrist, the first people who you're going to interact with, there is a lot of stigma there. Because I work in the health sector, so
She's
I
a
see
doctor. Dr. Pearl. Doctor.
So I see a lot of my colleagues, when someone comes in and they are presenting with symptoms that are related to mental illness, you sort of see them write off the patient of, this one is pretend. Okay, they've never said it, no one has ever said it, but they give off the air of, really?
Yeah,
thank you. Said it perfectly. Yekoza.
That's the sign of a stigma.
And I think as healthcare professionals, especially people who might not be in the mental health field, we are taught how to teach patients as a whole, and a part of patients is their mind. So you can't say that, I'm going to fix your intestine and then discredit their mind. Or you can't say, your heart, we need to do all these things for your heart, and I discredit your mind. Because just as we are saying, cancer is a disease or malaria is a disease, even mental illnesses are diseases, and the same respect and courtesy that we offer patients who have these seemingly big diseases should be the same respect and courtesy that we offer patients who have mental illness. Because you'll never see someone who comes in with malaria and we're like, hey, Koza, is the fever really that much?
So come you come
something like that.
Let us meditate. Say a prayer.
Exactly.
And it will go.
To my colleagues, my mates, let's do better.
When you talk about that, there was a time I went to buy my medication from a pharmacy, and this pharmacist looks at me and says, you don't need this medicine. And in my head, I was like, if I did need this medicine, sir, I'm manic. I'd be pulling you out. And throwing you somewhere to access that medicine. I am controlled. My moods are controlled because I'm on this medicine.
Yes.
And also, you're a mental health professional. Why would you discourage someone who has come with a prescription?
To say you don't need the...
First
of all, they haven't even told you their story.
Yes. Why are you making them feel bad? Why? Anyway, to young we have quarreled.
But don't forget.
Yeah. Also, if you're very depressed and you're having suicidal ideations, please seek help. I normally have reached a point where I have learned that it's important to fight for myself first before other people help me. So part of fighting for myself is I walk into a hospital, I go to Nakasero Hospital, that's where I get my help, and tell them I can no longer fight on my own. Please help me. Yeah. So seek help. Walk into hospitals, ask to see a psychiatrist, a therapist, and get help. This has been a heavy one.
It really has, but I think it has been a useful one. I feel like you guys are like, yeah.
Anyway, from me to you and from Paul, we're wishing you love and light, and we cannot wait to see you next time on Hearty Conversations. Bye.
Bye.